What's up, people of the internet? My name is Dabicab, and today we're going to go over the first game of the final round of the Artifact Tournament, so stay tuned. Alright, so it is a new morning. I'm here to review this first match of the Grand Finals, and in the following days we're going to review the following matches of the Grand Finals to see how the winner won the tournament. And I'm guessing you guys probably already know who won, but I will try not to spoil it. But I've got my fresh cup of coffee, and I'm ready to make a fresh cup of content for you guys. Alright, so the matches are between Mogwai, who is running a deck with Chen and Treant Protector in green, Bristleback in red, and Debbie and Phantom Assassin in black. So it's a tri-color deck with a splash of red. And then Heffa, aka Joel Larson, is playing a two-color deck, black and green. He has two Sorla Khans and a Debbie in black, and then in green he has Lycan and Abaddon. So let's talk about our turn one options here. Now, we'll start with Heffa's position because, unfortunately for Heffa, both of these minions drop down into this lane, which is going to prevent Sorla Khan from hitting that tower. So kind of unlucky there. Obviously, Sorla Khan wants to hit the tower as much as possible, and it's very unlucky that Phantom Assassin got to hit the tower, but Sorla did not. Anyways, he's got only green cards, so he can't do anything. Mogwai, on the other hand, can play Disciple of Nevermore, but that won't really help him too much, because that will put his creep at 4 attack against the Sorla, which will not be enough to kill him, and it'll make the rest of his units pretty vulnerable. Though he does have no accident, so what he could do if he wanted to, and this is probably not a good play, is to play Disciple of Nevermore. That will deal 4 damage to the Sorla Khan, and then next turn he can no accident Sorla. I'm not really sure I agree with this play. I think the right play is to pass, because alternatively that could lead to sort of a nightmare scenario where you play no accident on Sorla for 3 damage. The creep hits for 2 damage, Sorla survives with 1 health, and then you just have no way to follow up and get that 1 remaining health. Meanwhile, Heffa goes to the store and buys 1 healing item, 1 cloak, any sort of defensive item at all, and you just wasted your card on Sorla Khan. So I think the right play here is to just pass. Disciple of Nevermore is more of a finisher. You kind of use that to, like, after you've secured an advantage and you want to push through with a lot of damage, and at the moment he just doesn't have that. Yep, and we get passes across the board in this match. Oh, look at how many options we have. Literally no cards can be cast, and the heroes are killing each other. Okay, as soon as he moves this card, we can talk about our options. So, the only card that Heffa can play is a Rebel Decoy. And it's honestly kind of tempting to play at this turn, because Lycan's in front of Bristleback, which is not good news. So I think what he should probably do is play the Rebel Decoy over here to the right of the units. That way, when he swaps to this spot right here, Lycan will still give the +2 attack buff to this unit, which will allow him to kill this unit. So it'll help keep his, because if he does it over here, then he'll get the 4 attack, but the 4 attack will just deal tower damage. It won't actually kill anything. So I think that's probably the better play. Yep. And it looks like Heffa agrees with me. The important thing is we gotta protect that Lycan. We gotta get that dude out of Bristleback's way, because Bristleback is going to completely destroy Lycan. So long, Rebel Decoy. We hardly knew ye. Alright, and unfortunately Mogwai can't buy anything. Heffa did not buy anything either. Alright, let's talk about placement. So, looking at Mogwai's hand, we have this no accident. And actually we're going to have a couple options for this no accident. So first of all, this creep is going to go here, and this creep is going to go here. Now, Mogwai doesn't know this, but there's a chance that Abaddon could go into this lane, and if he does, then there's going to be an extra slot here and an extra slot here, or an extra slot here. So this creep could go either in front of Sorla or in front of one of these other extra slots. And if the creep goes in front of Sorla, that will put him in range for no accidents. So that's a potential way to kill off Sorla and take the lane or at least, you know, get advantage in the lane, because we still might have Abaddon in there. Alternatively, we can save No Accident for the mid lane where there's the Debbie. To kill her off, that's going to leave our Treant Protector with just 1 health though, so it kind of is going to depend on the curves. We got this unit, he knows it's coming, and then, you know, maybe the Abaddon is coming. So he's got, honestly, kill options. It kind of depends on what lane he wants to go for. And then Heffa doesn't have cards that makes him, you know, able to plan ahead quite as much, because all he's got is the Rebel Decoy, and he kind of has to see how the flops come out, where things land, before he can make decisions about how that goes down. Alright, so now the question for Mogwai is essentially... Alright, hold on. First he gets a Reptile Convoy, and then a Rumust Blessing. The question for Mogwai is, do you want to use No Accident to kill the Sorla, or do you want to use No Accident to kill the Debbie? One of the risks of playing No Accident to kill the Sorla now is... Actually, no. I was going to say one of the risks is Heffa could play an item to save the Sorla after the damage comes through, but actually you can tell that he doesn't have any items, so that's not a viable play. So honestly, I don't know which is the better play here is. I think it kind of is going to depend on the individual player. Would you rather kill off the Sorla and try and take lane 1, or would you rather kill off the Debbie and try and take lane 2? Playing it in lane 2 is probably the better option, because that will both kill off an enemy hero and save your hero from death. So I think that's probably the better option. Let's see if Mogwai agrees. Looks like he does. Okay, so Mogwai has the option for Rumust Blessing. Probably not the best option, because it's not going to hit a whole lot of units, and it's not going to save Treant Protector. A Gloaty Vandal also won't save anyone, so I think probably the best play here is to No Accident. The Debbie, if he had No Accidented the first lane, then that will give him the freed up mana to cast Rumust Blessing in this lane, which would hit, you know, not a whole lot of units, but it wouldn't be a terrible play. And then Heffa, he could Vul Martyr, Rebel Decoy, Selfish Cleric. Honestly, he has a lot of options, so probably the best thing for him to do is to wait and see, what Mogwai does, and then plan accordingly. So now the options are, he could Vul Martyr, which will block the damage and buff the units in his lane, but it's not going to buff much. Rebel Decoy wouldn't be a bad option. It would allow him to swap with Abaddon and get the kill. Selfish Cleric would die. So I think probably the best play here is to Rebel Decoy and then put the Abaddon in front of the Treant Protector, because it doesn't even matter if Abaddon takes the 4 damage, because he's just going to heal up after anyways. Unfortunately, Rebel Decoy will trade with the creep. Though I suppose you could Vul Martyr. You know, if you want to save your Rebel Decoy for a more critical turn, which is totally understandable, nah, he goes for the Rebel Decoy. I get it. I get it. I wish there was a way to keep that Rebel Decoy alive, but next turn he is going down to that creep. Okay, so Mogwai can't cast anything. He has no red spells. That's the threat of... And he... Heffa chump blocks with the Vul, which is smart. It buffs 3 units with +1/+1, and it spares 8 whopping tower damage. Unfortunately, Mogwai can't buy something from his item shop, but he can buy the Furline Mantle or the Potion of Knowledge. Personally here, I think I'd pick up the Furline Mantle. Furline Mantle is a pretty good card. 8 health is a boatload. So I'd pick that up, not feel bad about it in the slightest. In general, you want to pick up items from your item deck rather than your secret shop, because the more items you buy from the item deck, the thinner the deck is, so it makes it more likely you're going to find the card in your item deck that you want to find, instead of you know, having a full deck. But I agree, in this case, a Furline Mantle is a smart call. Okay, Chen. Where do we want to put Chen? Lane 1's not a terrible option. If it lands in front of Sorla, it will kill the Sorla without dying. Lane 2, not so much. Chen has no real chance of killing that Abaddon. Lane 3 could be useful, depends on if he wants to fight for it. So personally, I think, though putting in lane 1 is a little bit of a risk, because there's a chance that Heffa could just be like, oh, okay, you want lane 1, fine, it's yours. Take it with your 2 heroes in there. I'm going to go win the other 2 lanes with my 5 heroes. So that could be risky. Meanwhile, we got Sorlakan coming down. Almost certain that Sorlakan isn't coming down into lane 3. It's most likely going to come down to lane 2 or 1 because Sorla's probably going to die. But at the very least, he can trade with Debbie and he can trade with Phantom Assassin. Well, I guess also he could trade with Bristleback. It's just... if he has any sort of health items, and Heffa does know that Mogwai does have 1 item in his hand, then that means Bristleback is going to survive and get +2 armor. So probably not going to see him in lane 3. So Mogwai opts to fight for lane 3 with Chen. Also worth noting that Lycan is in that lane, and Lycan is likes to have a lot of creeps in the lane, so putting Chen in that lane is a decent counter to that, because of course Chen has that passive that allows him to steal creep. Okay, let's talk about options. Let's see. So, if Mogwai plays any creep in front of Sorlakan, the arrow will redirect and spare the Phantom Assassin. Disciple of Nevermore would do it. Aglodia Vandal would do it. Disciple of Nevermore might not be a terrible choice. It's going to make the Phantom Assassin take 2 extra damage, but I think Aglodia Vandal is probably the safer choice all around. Alternatively, he could just tank the damage and put a Furline Mantle onto Phantom Assassin. Would he survive that? It's 8 plus 2 is 10. Yeah, he should be able to survive that. And then Heffa can play Assault Ladders or Gank. I wish I could remember what the situation was in the other lanes, because I can't remember if there are any good gank targets. I think that since Sorlakan is already getting a kill here, you don't need to spend card and a mana to get a kill in another lane, because she's already, she's getting a kill. That's fine. So I think the play here would probably be Assault Ladders, unless Mogwai does something to change the situation. Then we might want to reconsider the gank. But you got to play something, Mogwai. Otherwise, you're going to run out of time, my friend. Typically speaking, playing the item card first is the safest option, because it it helps keep your heroes safe, and it sort of stalls things out so you can see what your opponent wants to do. Because if you're planning on playing the items no matter what, the idea is you play the health item. That way, if they have like no accident, Thunder God's Wrath, whatever, they can more likely survive, and it just forces them to play whatever card they're going to play first, so you know what to respond to. So the Assault Ladders comes down, not surprising, because gotta win this lane. Okay, what are we doing this lane? Heffa has Intimidation, but to be honest, all the lanes are kind of evenly matched at the moment, so Intimidation could help him win this lane, but kind of screw him up in another lane. We've got Divine Intervention, it's not going to help much. Selfish Cleric, you could do that to go a little bit wider in your lane. You could gank, but unfortunately Sorlakan's going to die just about any unit he attacks, with the exception of Chen. But that would still put him in death range because she's in front of a creep. So if we had a health item, then gank would look kind of tempting. So here, just because there's no better option, I think the play is to play a Selfish Cleric to try and go as wide as possible. And yeah, that's it. And on Mogwai's play, we have just Disciple of Nevermore, which is not a great choice here. So my guess is he's not going to play anything. We'll see how this shakes out. I really wish that as a spectator, I'm just watching a VOD, I really wish I could see what's going on in the other lanes. I'd love to know if there's a good gank target. 8 attack and 6 health. He would die to Phantom Assassin, he would die to Bristleback, and he would not kill, but he would hurt Chen. But I can't remember if there's anything in front of Chen to help kill Chen off. He goes for the Selfish Cleric. Yep. That's what I would have done. And he opts to swap. So the idea here is you save your Rebel Decoy, because he was going to die, so this helps the Abaddon kill off that creep. I mean, which the Rebel Decoy is going to do anyways. And the 4 damage going into... Oh, interesting. So here we're probably going to see an Abaddon. Yeah, an Abaddon ability. So the question is, why did he play that? It kills the... Playing Disciple of Nevermore kills the Selfish Cleric. It does 4 damage to the Sorla, which is not a lot. It causes your Debbie to take a lot of extra damage, actually. Debbie's taking 8 damage instead of 4. And then your creep is going to die anyways. So basically he's playing this. He's sacrificing 4 health on Debbie plus 1 card to kill off one of their cards and deal 4 damage to Sorla. I guess he's got the cards. He's got to play something. Though I'm not sure that was the strongest play in the world. That still might have been the best play, just not a very strong play. Okay. Do we want to intimidate anything in this lane? We could, but the options aren't fantastic. Oh, actually, Blonde's Legionnaire plus Rumusk Blessing isn't looking terrible. That will hit a decent number of units. He could Redtail Convoy alternatively. He doesn't have a ton of gold. But the whole point of the Redtail Convoy is just that he's huge. You know, he just blocks a lot. And then on Hefa's hand, in Hefa's turn, we have Selfish Cleric, which would have to chump block the Bristleback, which would sting a little. We could Divine Intervention, but there's no really good targets for it, and we could Intimidate. But once again, it's hard to Intimidate this early because all 3 lanes are winnable. And the second you Intimidate, you start losing one of your other lanes, essentially. So I think I'd hang on to it. The question is essentially, do you want to cast Selfish Cleric to try and spare some tower damage? But considering his tower's at full health, I say just take it. See if you need Selfish Cleric someplace else. Reptile Convoy, no. So he opts for the Bronze Legionnaire in front of the creep. Let's see if we see a Rumusk Blessing come out. I think it's probably pretty likely, because it'll keep that creep alive, and it'll just hit a decent number of things in this lane, and the mana works out just fine. Divine Intervention. Alright, so essentially just nothing's going to die this round. $6 gold. We're going to almost certainly see that Traveler's Cloak get picked up. I would pick it up. Why not, man? And he grabs it. Okay, where are we going to put this Treant Protector? Probably, gosh, I think I would probably put him in lane 1, because if you put him in lane 2, he could drop in front of Abaddon, in which case he doesn't do anything because Abaddon heals. He could drop in front of the Rebel Decoy, in which case he just swaps out for whatever he wants. It'd be good if he drops in front of Sorla, but with 2 creep in that lane, it's not super likely. So personally, I think I would just go in front of the Sorla Khan, and then Debbie is opting to fight lane 3. So the fact that he's playing Debbie means he was probably expecting her to drop in front of Bristleback. So my guess is he's expecting that he has a card in his hand to deal with that. I'm not sure what. And Phantom Assassin curves into Sorla Khan. That's real bad news for Hefa. Okay, so my guy kind of doesn't need to do anything. He's already getting the outcome he wants, which is to win this lane. So since, from Hefa's perspective, since Sorla's already going down, he's going to die anyways. I think the play is to play gank onto something in another lane, because, I mean, it doesn't matter if Sorla dies from that fight because she's going to die anyways. So you gank something here. The question is what? I honestly don't know. I'd have to be able to see what's going on in the other lanes. Let's see. Chin would die. Bristleback would not die. You could kill the Debbie in lane 2. Treant Protector would survive. So I believe the options are between Debbie and Chin. Yep. Goes for the Debbie. So they're going to kill each other off. Which is fine. She was going to die anyways. And now Mogwai can decide if he wants to play Disciple of Nevermore to try and speed this along. Yeah. So the idea is you got to get this lane down. Ideally fairly quickly, because then you can pull Phantom Assassin out of the lane and put her into one of the other lanes. And this halves the time it's going to take. Alright, what are the plays here? You could Intimidate, which might not be bad actually. If you Intimidate, there's a 50-50 chance of it going to the first lane, which would be phenomenal for you because you've already abandoned the first lane as Heffa, which would be just super strong. Alternatively, could go to the third lane, which will kind of bite him in the ass a little bit. Selfish Cleric, Savage Wolf, Gank. I think the play here is to Savage Wolf, just to let that sucker start growing, make him big and strong. As for Mogwai, he has green mana. The play is either Reptile Convoy in front of Sorla Khan to kill her off, but she's just going to get swapped by the Rebel Decoy. So that's not really going to do that much. Actually, if he swaps the Rebel Decoy, he's still going to die because that'll put him in front of a creep. Or he could sell him an Ace Hero. I think the play is to Reptile Convoy because that will not ensure the Sorla Khan's death, but because Heffa does have two item cards at his disposal, which are typically health cards, just in general. So Mogwai can reasonably suspect that. But I mean, you got to play something if you want to try and win a lane. And since we don't have any super expensive cards in hand, I don't think we need to invest super heavily into Celeminate's favor right now. Alternatively, you could Reptile Convoy in front of the Savage Wolf to try and kill that off, because that thing's not too big at the moment, and now's a good chance to kill it off before it gets too much bigger. But he opts for the Sorla Khan. I mean, his tower was going to take 23 damage, which is a massive amount. So I guess the logic here is you put him in front of Sorla Khan because that forces him to swap with Sorla, and that means Sorla attacks into the creep. And even if he does play an item on Sorla Khan, which he does, at least Sorla Khan isn't hitting the tower. She's hitting a creep. So it makes sense. I can understand why she did that, though it kind of stings to leave the Savage Wolf without an answer. And then next turn, Sorla Khan is due to deal 24 damage. Okay. So we could Viscous Nasal. Mogwai could Viscous Nasal Goo, which would not kill either one of those heroes, so that's not a super strong option. Intimidate might not be bad. We're kind of losing lane 2 anyways. So if a hero goes over into lane 2, that'll make Heffa a little bit over-invested in lane 2, which will make it easier to win lanes 1 and 3. Though there's a chance that one of those heroes could land in front of Phantom Assassin in lane 1, which is not really great because we'd like to win that lane first before we move a hero into it. So it might be the case that the best play here is Celeminate's. And then I think that'll leave him with 4 mana, so he could Viscous Nasal Goo if he wants. Meanwhile, Heffa can play a Selfish Cleric, an Intimidation, a Gank. God, I wish I could look at the other lanes. I can't remember. I can't remember what the situation is with the other cards. So I think we'll just see how this turns out. You could play Gank on Phantom Assassin, but unless you're planning on deploying to that lane, I don't know how useful it's going to be. You could actually try to take back lane 1. Gank Phantom Assassin and then play, Sorla in that lane. Because he's just going to have, Mogwai's just going to have a single 4-attack minion in there, so it's not too late to take that lane back. I'm just not really sure if it's necessary. Okay, Celeminate's favor, and that's going to leave him with 4 mana for Nasal Goo if he wants to. And Heffa is going to what? I say don't play Selfish Cleric because that one creep is already tanking 12 damage. So you don't really... Okay, so he ganks. Who's he gank? The Chin. That's going to free up 5 damage for Lycan. Debbie's still going down because of that creep. Oh, but he could Fountain Flask. So Debbie would be just fine. We'll probably see a goo come down because why not? Right, yeah. Put it on Debbie. That's going to make her super vulnerable. Just barely out of kill range. That kind of stings. Because now Debbie's going to be dealing 11 tower damage per turn, which is kind of nutty. So, Rumusc investments. It's kind of pricey, to be honest, especially since we have a Reptile Convoy. It's not the best pickup here. Healing Salve might be better to try and keep Reptile Convoy nice and big and strong for the time being. I'm just not sure if we really need Rumusc investments. Like, Bristleback's really healthy. Phantom Assassin doesn't need it. I mean, playing Healing Salve on Treant Protector might just do the same thing. Oh, the Disciple of Nevermore is going down to a random creep drop. Actually, it's lucky that didn't land in front of Phantom Assassin. Okay, so does Mogwai want to play anything? Personally, I think I would pass. Yeah, I think I'd pass. And then Heffa can't play anything. There's not really a rush to kill this lane super fast. Like, the Phantom Assassin and the melee creep will do it fairly at a decent pace. It's going to be 8 damage per turn. So with the 12 damage this turn, if these 2 units just die, they can just kill the tower next lane. They can kill this lane's tower next turn quite easily. So you just don't really need to. You don't need to save the Disciple of Nevermore. And you okay? I don't agree with that. I think you should have saved this Slay. Is he gonna Gloaty? Okay, so he's trying to burn down this tower quickly, and I think the play here is what he's actually trying to do is beat lane 1 while stalling out lane 2. Lane 2 and lane 3 are kind of in a stalemate, like they're kind of back and forth. So I think the idea is he's investing, Mogwai's investing enough cards in lane 1 that he can actually threaten core damage while still stalling out the other 2 lanes. So now the match kind of moves towards control. Heffa has a 4-turn clock unless he starts moving cards over into lane 1, because lane 1's taking 22 damage a turn, so he's got 4 turns to win lanes 2 and 3, or he needs to start moving cards in lane 1, which he doesn't want to do because he doesn't care about lane 1 anymore. So Heffa could arm the Rebellion, not an amazing play. Selfish Cleric, not too bad. He could play that in front of the Treant Protector, which would put him into lethal range. Slay on the Reptile Convoy, which is honestly looking pretty tempting. Then a bunch of items. And then meanwhile, Mogwai could Hand of God Intimidation. So I think what I would do is, as Heffa, I would play a Broadsword onto a Sorla Khan to see if Mogwai plays anything else. Then when he doesn't play a bigger creep like a Thunderhide pack, I would as Thunderhide pack 7 or 8. In any event, then if he doesn't play anything stronger than the Reptile Convoy, then you slay the Reptile Convoy, because that will take out a fairly large creep, and it will free up Sorla Khan to do tower damage, which would be fantastic. And Mogwai will probably Hand of God, I'm guessing. Well, actually, maybe not. I mean, his creep's not dying, his melee creep's not dying, and his Reptile Convoy's not dying, so it might not be necessary to Hand of God. Yeah, so Selfish Creep is not looking quite so, not Selfish Creep, Selfish Cleric is not looking quite so good anymore now that the Healing Salve has come down onto Treant Protector. So I'm really feeling the Slay. Is he going to Slay now? So he does that so that Selfish Cleric doesn't come down in front of the Treant Protector. Smart. Yeah. Pretty smart. Because he just would have died to Treant Protector. This is going to free up 4 tower damage, help him secure this lane. He is 1 damage off from lethal. And his board is super wide, so he is very likely going to find that damage next turn. Ooh, the Intimidation comes down, which is going to save a lot of tower damage. Cuts that tower damage by about half. That creep's going down. Yeah, so lane 2 is still looking really strong. The issue is that because of that Intimidation, Hef is now really heavily invested in lane 1. So what are the plays here? Magmar can't do anything because he's playing a tricolor deck and he has one card in hand and it's in the wrong color. Heffa could Intimidate, or he could Arm the Rebellion. Arm the Rebellion will hit the 2 creep. Intimidation can move the Bristleback. Honestly, I think you just don't do anything. You're already got lethal damage. Actually, hold on a second. Let me think about this. Okay. So here's what you do, I think. Here's what you do. You intimidate your own hero. Heffa intimidates his own hero from this lane into the second lane. Well, I guess it could be the first lane. Because the situation is, Heffa actually doesn't need all 3 of these heroes to hit the tower. If he moves Lycan, he's going to lose 5 damage from Lycan plus the 2 damage buff, which is still lethal. If he moves Debbie, that's 11 damage. Actually, you kind of need Debbie. Yeah, okay, so he can move Lycan safely without worrying about not killing a tower this turn. So I think that's the play because you don't really need 3 heroes in this lane anymore. So either you land in lane 2, which is great for you because you want to win lane 2, or he lands in lane 1, which is not terrible for you because then you can get some damage in and kill some of those units, which is threatening core damage in 4 turns. Alternatively, if you're not a fan of the 50-50, then you could save onto Intimidation and hopefully use it in lane 2 offensively. But I actually kind of like playing it on one of your own heroes. I wish we could play it on one of the black heroes, but unfortunately we need the damage. Sorla's doing 12. Yeah, so we've got 9 spare damage, and Debbie and Sorla are doing more than 9. So we need both of them in this lane. So playing it on Lycan, not a bad play actually, in my opinion. Let's see if he does it. Yeah, the chance though that if he landed in lane 1, that would really suck for Heffa. That would suck a lot. He would kill 3 out of the 4 things he landed in front of. And you don't really want to invest too heavily into lane 1 if you don't care about it. He can win lane 2 fairly reliably. With a board that wide, there's a decent chance he can just win that lane outright. Though the thing is, he's not really doing anything in lane 3. You know, I guess he's doing 30 damage a turn, which puts that tower on a 3-turn clock, more or less. So he might actually be able to win that race against the lane 1 tower. But at the moment, it looks like everyone's investing into lane 2 because that's where things are going to shake down. We just think of how much stronger Heffa's position would be if he had his Lycan in that lane as well. He'd be in a really strong spot. Okay, so let's just assume for the sake of argument that Heffa's Lycan moved to this lane. He would have been able to... What would he have been able to do? If he landed in front of Phantom Assassin, he would be dead right now, which would kind of suck. The thing is, he would have landed before these creeps, so there would have been only a 25% chance he would have landed in front of Phantom Assassin. He would have been able to play Intimidate. He would have been able to play Arm the Rebellion, which would have saved at least one of his creep. Honestly, it wouldn't have done a whole lot. It wouldn't have helped a whole lot. This is not what he would have wanted, but I think I would have taken the risk personally. And see, that's the problem with playing a bunch of cards in one lane and trying to do core damage while you stall out the other 2 lanes, is that melee creep can just stall you down too much, especially if the arrows curve into them and you have one melee creep blocking multiple units. Okay, so what are the plays here? Mogwai could Hand of God, which would save one melee creep. He could No Accidents, Keenfolk Musket, so he's looking at 5 damage wherever he wants. Fortunately, that's not enough to kill any heroes before they get to act. He could theoretically kill the wolf, 5 damage plus the melee creep, but that might not cut it. So I'm not really sure what the play here is. I think you just buff up your units with the item cards and see how things shake down. Heffa could Arm the Rebellion, not a bad play. No Accident doesn't kill anything. Intimidation. If you intimidate into lane 1, that's good for you. If you intimidate to lane 3, that's also good for you. Yeah, so I think you intimidate, actually. You intimidate probably the Debbie, because that leaves just green mana in the lane. So yeah, I'm actually feeling intimidate. And then you could Aphotic Shield while you're at it if you want to. Let me see. So, intimidate. All right, so what are the plays here? So first off, right off the bat, it's smart to steal the wolf with Chin's passive. His passive has finally come online, so you can make use of that. Hand of God isn't going to do too much, though if you do steal the wolf, he's going in front of Abaddon, and Hand of God will save the wolf from death. Heffa could Arm the Rebellion, which will only hit 2 things, because the wolf will probably be stolen, and you don't want to hit the wolf, even if you could, because it's going to get stolen no matter what. So actually, I think a pretty good play would be Intimidation, because if Heffa moves an enemy hero into lane 1, that's good because he doesn't really care about lane 1 anymore. If he moves him to lane 3, also good because he doesn't care about lane 3 anymore. So we're probably going to see an Intimidation out of Heffa, and maybe a Hand of God. Yeah, maybe a Hand of God out of Mogwai. All right, the wolf gets the armor from the Treant Protector, so he's safe from the Abaddon, though he's still taking a bunch of damage. Are we going to see an Intimidate? I think Intimidate is a fine play, because actually Debbie will drop down in front of one of your heroes, and you're totally okay with Debbie killing one of your heroes in lane 3. I think you're totally okay with it, because that will mean that you can redeploy that hero into lane 2, which is the lane you care about. So I think I would Intimidate. And we are seeing, no, the Treant Protector. He opts instead for tower damage. He's 1 damage off. Oh man. He doesn't care about the black mana. He says it doesn't matter if you got black mana because you got 1 tower health. Oh my god. So lane 3, we're almost certainly going to see a Town Portal Scroll. My guess is the Sorla. And what can Mogwai do? Not a lot. He can Keenfolk Musket the Debbie, or actually the melee creep. The melee creep is blocking 10 damage. The Debbie is only blocking 4 damage. So playing the Musket will allow much more total damage to go through. Plus, the Treant Protector is not taking any damage anyway, so it doesn't matter if he smacks into Debbie. So yeah, I think I'd kill the melee creep actually. And then if I were Heffa, I would definitely Town Portal Scroll out one of those heroes so that I could start pressuring lane 2 as much as possible. I'm not sure which. Does it matter? I don't think it matters that much. Probably the Sorla, just because she's got the cloak, the Assassin's Veil. So if she gets a bad arrow, she can turn that into her favor by moving the arrow, which is good. Lycan doesn't have that option. And Mogwai is just not going to be able to deal damage to that tower. 22 damage, it's not likely. Heffa just needs to find one damage to win this game. Whew. The issue is Mogwai's lane is actually pretty wide. So being able to put a unit out to the outskirts, outside of the minion stack, might be a little bit tricky. Fortunately though, black is really good at finding evasion damage, some way to hit the tower directly. So black is probably going to find some answer out there somewhere, I would guess. He put Sorla Khan in lane 1? I was not expecting that. Huh, I'm surprised. Why did he do that, I wonder? So he's killing off the Phantom Assassin. I guess he's worried about core damage? Huh. Weird. I personally think I would have, of course, if Sorla had gone in lane 2, he would have probably dropped in front of a hero. But that's one damage off. Maybe he doesn't care about hitting it with a unit. Maybe he's just looking for some sort of card in his deck that he knows will deal direct damage, like a Trebuchet or Red Mist Maul, or I mean any other number of black direct damage cards. So maybe he doesn't care about winning this lane conventionally. Maybe he cares about just surviving long enough that he can find that one card that he needs. Because black is really good at that, right? I wish we would zoom in. Okay, so he captured the Assassin's Apprentice. That's probably so he can curve into the wolf and kill the wolf off. Meanwhile, Mogwai can no accident the assassin right off the bat. They'll leave him with 6 mana. He could unearth secrets. Alternatively, he could just Hand of God and just... Hand of God might actually be the better option because that's going to also keep your melee creep alive in front of Sorla Khan. Though no accident plus unearth secrets can help you find answers. I mean, we do have Spring the Trap, actually. So we could let the melee creep die, and then next turn on Bristleback's lane, you play Spring the Trap into lane 2. So it doesn't matter that the melee creep is dead because you find blockers anyway. So I guess you don't need Hand of God? No, yeah, no accident plus unearth secrets for the card draw might be the better play. Kind of feeling it. You play Unearthed Secrets in, I think, lane 3, because I'm pretty sure there's tower damage coming in on lane 3. That will allow, that will give you 1 card draw. And, I mean, if it hits lane 2, you're dead. And if it hits lane 1, nothing's going to hit lane 1. So you definitely play Unearthed Secrets in lane 3. You could Vandal, actually, alternatively, if you want to just start pressuring for the win. Because you can't just defend, you've also got to try and, you know, secure that victory. And a Gloaty would help speed that along. Yeah, there's Unearthed Secrets. That'll give him 1 extra card draw at the cost of 5 health, which is no big deal. So he arms the Rebellion and springs the Trap. Yeah, so there we go. That's going to keep Sorla Khan from hitting that tower as predicted. And Mogwai is going to get a card draw, but it might just not matter because Heffa just needs... the caster's actually talking about the same thing I'm talking about, that a Gloaty Vandal. It looks like that plus an Intimidation might do the job. Our cards, he's got a Rebel Decoy. I don't think Rebel Decoy is going to help. He's got 2 cards in his deck that if he draws will probably give him a win. He just needs 1 point of evasion. One evasion damage. Oh, Red Mist Maul! Alright, never mind. Never mind. Red Mist Maul is a fantastic, fantastic card because it's guaranteed useful. Either you smack into the unit in front of you for +2 attack, or you smack into the tower for 5 siege damage. So it's kind of like a win-win card, you know? There's like no bad scenario for it. Even if the unit in front of you is invulnerable, immune to damage, whatever, Death Shield, you're still hitting the tower. So honestly, it doesn't really matter what happens in lane 1. All Heffa needs to do is attack, put the Maul on someone, probably the Abaddon, because Abaddon has the invulnerability effect. So what you do here is you play invulnerability on Abaddon. Actually, hold on a second. Mogwai is playing Phantom Assassin, so Heffa has to worry about coup de grace. So if he plays Red Mist Maul, now he knows. Now he knows that he can't cast coup de grace anymore. Because if Heffa had played Red Mist Maul on one of his units, and then afterwards Mogwai could have just coup de graced him, but by playing Hand of God immediately, Heffa knows that Mogwai doesn't have the mana for a coup de grace. So now he can just cast Red Mist Maul on one of his units. And there we go. Put it on Abaddon because he's nice and invulnerable. And it doesn't matter that you destroy the short sword he already had because that tower is going down. Phantom Assassin. Oh man, Mogwai is 1 damage off from tying. He's 1 damage off from tying. Oh no, not anymore. Now he's 4 damage off from tying. That's too bad. Alright, so pretty good match overall. I like that. Seeing an Intimidation on both decks is really interesting because Intimidation is such a high risk, high reward card. And we did see them come down, and I think both players used them. So overall, it's a really interesting game. Tomorrow, we're going to go over the second match of the Grand Final Tournament. So I hope to see you tomorrow as well. Thank you so much for watching. Dabacab out.